an overview of the city's NPDES Stormwater Quality Program. Greg Ruddy, Public Works Director, will give the presentation.
So as part of our permitting requirements through the federal government and the state, we're required to have an NPDES permit, or a National Pollution Discharge Elimination System permit. We are also an MS4 community, which is a municipal separate storm sewer system, a lot of acronyms. As part of our permit, we are required to do a public outreach and education program, and we have a consultant on board who helps us prepare the permit, and we'll do a presentation tonight that will take care of our public outreach and education portion of our permit requirement. Dan Bounds with Baxter and Woodman is the consultant who's helped us with this permit over the last few years. You may remember we did one of these presentations just over a year ago, Dan, or so. Not a long presentation, but it'll let everybody know what we're doing to track illicit discharges and to keep our stormwater clean. So,
Thanks, Greg. Good evening. Thanks for having me in tonight. So I'm here to give an overview and an update on the stormwater quality program that the city implements, or what the city does to keep the quality of its runoff from its storm sewer system as clean as possible and prevent pollution. So Illinois EPA requires that the city implement programs and activities aimed at protecting local water quality. City staff, city contractors that are performing work are required to do their work with best management practices to prevent pollution from the storm drain system. And that program is the Municipal Separate Storm Sewer System Program. Illinois EPA refers to it as the MS4 program. It's a general permit program. You're not alone in it. Over 400 communities share this permit statewide, so every medium to large size community, and it's a 5-year permit duration. This is the city's responsibility for complying with the Clean Water Act, implementing the requirements of this program. So your MS4 system, or your separate storm sewer system, is all of your stormwater catch basins, your curbs, your gutters, your ditches, your underground pipes, your channels, even your roads that transfer roadway runoff into your storm drain system. That's your infrastructure underground for doing that. So we're talking tonight about the system that's combined to only handle stormwater. So not combined sewer system flows or your sanitary sewer system. This is just your separate stormwater system. And the pollutants that can be picked up in that system and carried with snow melt this time of year, or rainfall, runoff any other time of year, are the pollutants shown on the screen. Think about all of your different public areas, your facilities, and the type of materials that can be deposited on those surfaces and picked up by stormwater and run off into the storm drain system and into your local waterways. Sediments cause a number of problems. Nutrients like phosphorus and nitrogen, fertilizers and pesticides can have toxicity associated with those. Heavy metals, bacteria, and all of the oils, detergents, greases for the equipment and washing and things like that happen. Plus the general trash and debris that gets picked up and blown off into the stormwater system. The bottom photos are my 30-year collection of stuff flowing out of municipal storm drains that shouldn't be. It's one of my most proud collections because I'm a little odd that way. So local water impairments, particularly for the city here, IEPA does monitoring every year and puts several waters on the impaired waters list for the state. So locally, we have the Des Plaines River, which has not enough dissolved oxygen at times, too much phosphorus and too much fecal coliform, which is an indicator of human pathogens. DePage River has phosphorus chlorides and sediment issues. Thorn Creek's not listed. Sugar Run, not enough dissolved oxygens at time, some pH issues and too much sediment and silt. Spring Creek, similar, low dissolved oxygen levels. There has been some visible oil problems on Spring Creek from time to time, and then phosphorus and sediment again. Cedar Creek is not impaired or not listed on the impaired waters list. Hickory Creek, phosphorus, chlorides from roadway de-icing, dissolved oxygen issues, pH and solids. Sable, fecal coliform, human pathogen issues again. Rock Run Creek has aquatic life impacts, but the cause for those hasn't been identified by IEPA. And then lastly, Jackson Branch can have dissolved oxygen low problems and sometimes too much phosphorus and zinc. This is not a complete listing, but just the major pollutants that are causing impairments in our local waterways. So the city's developed a stormwater management plan. This document describes how the city is implementing its practices to protect water quality, how city departments are organized, the responsible parties and roles for implementing water quality protection activities, and the program commitments and how the program is administered. That's on the city's website. And the program has 6 major areas or program areas to it. The city has requirements for public education and outreach, and public involvement and participation. This meeting tonight, this presentation is helping you meet your public involvement and participation requirement. You have to have programs to look for illicit discharges and any illegal connections to your storm drain system. Several requirements for construction and post-construction management of stormwater, both during construction and after sites are developed and fully in place. And then more home to the city is the pollution prevention and good housekeeping practices that your public works crews and your contractors have to implement while doing their jobs to help run the city. So all of this information is required to IEPA and also to be posted on the city's website. So that's your notice of intent or your program commitments for the stormwater quality program, your stormwater management plan, which I mentioned a second ago, and then annual reports that are due June 1st of every year. All of this information is on the city's stormwater webpage. So training is a real important part of this program. When Illinois EPA does audits of communities like yours, they ask a lot of questions about training. Who was trained? When were they trained? Can you document that? So this is a list of the type of training that all city employees have to have, including contractors that perform services for the city as well. So there's a variety of topics that we look to train staff on each year for the program. So if you have any questions or residents have any questions about stormwater quality issues or this permit program, they can contact Public Works. Phone number is 815-724-4200. They can also call Greg, who just introduced me tonight, and ask questions about, or answer any questions about the program.
I have him on speed dial.
Great, thanks. So again, the real focus, if you take 2 things away from this presentation tonight, there's too much nutrients in our local waterways from fertilizers like phosphorus and nitrogen. That creates excessive algae growth, which in turn depletes oxygen levels and causes fish population issues, and sometimes fish kills if the dissolved oxygen gets low enough. Chlorides from dissolved salts, which would be from our winter roadway de-icing, keeping our roads safe. There'd be parking lots, roadways, and sometimes from excessive salt being used by water softeners that are not being very efficient. High levels of chlorides really have an effect on aquatic ecosystems. So they start to deteriorate plant growth and lower order organisms, which affects higher order organisms like larger fish in the system. So the city has programs and a lot of activities, all called best management practices, to help reduce the amount of pollutants that are getting into our local waters through the storm drain system to the best that we can. With that, I'm happy to answer any questions.
Gary?
Yes, sure.
So is there a percentage or a number that has to be cleaned by us before a specific period of time that we have to go back and show the government this is what we've done, or how is our test that we've done something?
That's an insightful question, because a lot of wastewater programs have numeric numbers that you have to meet for water quality standards. This program is a little different. It's just a best management practices pollution prevention program. So the state does have water quality standards for waterways, but the city doesn't have numerical numbers it has to meet from its storm drain system to be able to discharge from the water. It's a best management practices to the amount that's practicable for the city to implement to prevent pollution.
Thank you.
I guess to that note, are there any sort of areas of interest where currently we might be lacking, or areas where there might be room for improvement that we've already identified?
The city's implementing a very good program right now for this, looking at ways to to do better training or reduce the amount of material that's being used, keeping an eye on how things are stored at facilities, outdoor materials are stored. So I'd say the city's implementing a very good program, and I'm helping with the annual report each year and taking a look at ways that practices are happening to see if there's any room for improvement.
Eddie?
All right, thank you all.
Yes, no. Okay, thank you, Dan.
Next is citizens to be heard on agenda items. Michael Caldwell regarding Council Memo 170-22.
I'm Michael Caldwell, civil engineering working with net lease development, and I'm just saying I'm here if there's any questions whenever you get to that portion of the agenda. I'm representing the owner.
Thank you.
Is there anyone else that would like to speak on an agenda item this evening?
Good evening, Nate Washburn with KGG LLC. I'm here on behalf of the property owner for 171-22. It's an annexation of 20 and a half acres on the west side of Vetter Road. I'm here to answer any questions if there are any.
Any questions? No?
All right, thank you.
Is there anyone else who would like to speak? Seeing none, we'll have the Corporation Counsel Sabrina Spano discuss the items for tomorrow's agenda.
Good evening. I'm going to run through the agenda. If there's any questions, just stop me and let me know. So under consent agenda, Council Memo 145-22, award of contract extension for the 2022 lawn mowing services. Berry Landscape Management cuts the grass at our public utility sites. This item is the extension of an existing contract. Council Memo 146-22, award of contract for the 2022 Utilities Restoration Program. This contract is for repairs to damage in streets, parkways, sidewalks, and other surfaces which are excavated for utility repair work. These repairs are conducted on an on-call as-needed basis. The award is given to the three lowest bidders, the lowest to be called first, the others to be called if the lowest is unavailable. Council Memo 147-22, award of contract for the 2022 Utility Spoils Hauling Project to PT Farrell Construction Company in the amount of $286,750. The Utilities Department stores spoils from excavations at the Washington Street facility. This area is full and the spoils need to be moved off-site and disposed of. Council Memo 148-22, award of contract for the 2022 sewer cleaning and inspection program to National Power Rotting in the amount of $774,274.35. This is an extension of an existing contract for sewer cleaning and inspection. We expect 70 miles of sewer main to be cleaned and inspected this year. Council Memo 149-22, award of contract for the Illinois Route 53 at Emerald Drive intersection improvements project. Staff is recommending that this award of contract be tabled to the April 5th council meeting. Council Memo 150-22, award of contract to CIS for endpoint security. CIS is the Center for Internet Security. Our current internet security software is at the end of its life and will no longer be supported. Under this contract, CIS will provide security software to the city for 3 years. Council Memo 151-22, purchase of Blue Team Next Gen. Blue Team Next Gen is a case management program for internal investigations within the police department. This software, among other things, will enable the administration to track patterns in employee behavior and recommend early interventions in order to promote employee well-being. Council Memo 152-22, approve the 2022 fleet unit purchase plan. This is year 2 of a 5-year vehicle replacement plan. These purchases are financed through a bond to be repaid by a gas tax. Council Memo 153-22, professional services agreement for a public right-of-way ADA transition plan with Civil Tech Engineering in the amount of $49,556. Federal regulations require that public rights-of-way are ADA compliant. This contract will provide for an audit of those public rights-of-way within the city in order to identify non-compliant facilities and determine necessary changes. Council Memo 154-22, professional services agreement for the Phase 3 engineering services for the Illinois Route 53 at Emerald Drive intersection improvement project. Staff is recommending that this contract be tabled to the April 5th meeting. Council Memo 155-22, professional services agreement for the 2022 sanitary sewer investigation and rehabilitation program to RJN Group in the amount of $539,150. This contract is part of the ongoing replacement and upgrade of outdated sewer lines. Council Memo 156-22, professional services agreement for the 2022 annual service agreement for sewer system monitoring to Xylem View, Inc. in the amount of $56,974. This contract is for maintenance and monitoring of storm sewer flow in order to detect and prevent overflow events. Council Memo 157-22, professional services agreement for Department of Public Utilities Safety Consulting Services, 2022 with Sheffield Safety and Loss Control in the amount of $250,075. This contract is part of our ongoing worksite safety program. We have been working with this vendor for the past 3 years in order to develop a safety manual, personal protective equipment policies, formulation of a safety committee, and employee training. Council Memo 158-22, change order number 1 for Axon body worn camera program. The police department is preparing to deploy body worn cameras to all sworn officers. Increased numbers of police officers require the purchase of this additional equipment. Council Memo 159-22, change order number 7 for the Eastside wastewater treatment plant. This contract involves the removal of phosphorus at the Eastside wastewater treatment plant. This change order was approved by the Public Service Committee. Council Memo 160-22, amendment number 1, professional service agreement for construction engineering services for the 2022 water main rehabilitation program to Baxter and Woodman Consulting Engineers. This contract involves engineering services for the ongoing water main replacement program. The city has requested additional services from the vendor. This amendment to the existing contract addresses that request. Under licenses and permit applications, Council Memo 162-22, application for a drive-through permit for a Pop's Beef restaurant at 1866 Jefferson Street. Pop's Beef is requesting a permit to operate a drive-through at their location near Jefferson and Larkin. They have complied with all requests from Public Works, and staff is recommending approval of this permit. Next are liquor licenses, with which Chris Regis will discuss.
Hello, everyone. Going down the agenda, 163-22 is an application for a BG license at the BP station at 1522 Clement Street in Joliet. The liquor commissioner is, let me back up. For all of these items, there was a public hearing held on February 1st here at City Hall. For this item, the liquor commissioner is recommending denial of the issuance of that license for the following reasons. Now, that BP gas station is right at Theodore and Clement Street. That backs up to a residential area. And also, if you do a count of the liquor licenses that are issued within a 1 mile radius of that location, in Joliet alone, there are 17, including 2 packaged liquor establishments within 1/2 mile of that location. If we extend that radius into Crest Hill, which is on the north side of the street, there are 5 additional liquor establishments in Crest Hill. That brings the number up to 23 within 1 mile. The liquor commissioner feels that area is saturated already, and for that reason is recommending denial of that permit. 164-22 is a Class B liquor license at 1560 Illinois Route 59, that's Family Liquor. Now, that is an existing liquor store already. They do have a package license to sell. They would like the issuance of a Class B license in order to facilitate on-premise consumption at that location. Once again, the liquor commissioner is recommending denial of the issuance of that license. Within 1 mile of that location, there are 17 liquor licenses, and the thought is that that, again, is a saturation of liquor licenses in that location. Furthermore, they already have an existing business, and the commissioner is recommending denial. 165-22, that is the transfer of a Class B liquor license at 1028 Cora Street, the Hangover Bar. Now, that is an existing bar. That's right at Cora and Hutchins. That's an existing liquor license. They're just changing ownership, and the new owner wants to run the business as it always has been run for a Class B. So the liquor commissioner is recommending approval of that license transfer, and that concludes the license and permit applications. Thank you.
Under public hearings, Council Memo 167-22, resolution approving an annexation agreement for 20.5 acres on the west side of Vetter Road. This development is proposed for a parcel off of the newly annexed and rebuilt Vetter Road. This proposal is for a truck terminal facility. The facility will be subject to pilot fees and the recently passed recapture agreement. This has been approved by the ZBA and the Plan Commission. Under ordinances and resolutions, Council Memo 169-22, ordinance approving the recording plat of Ashford Place Subdivision, Unit 2A. Ashford Place Subdivision is a development east of County Line Road and south of Caton Farm Road. The developer intends to build out the remaining 241 single-family lots. This development will include construction and improvements to public rights-of-way. Council Memo 170-22, ordinance approving a special use permit for an automobile maintenance facility located at 2505 West Jefferson Street. This proposed development is for the vacant lot on the northwest corner of Jefferson and Barney. This ordinance will allow for the construction and operation of Take 5 oil change. This has been approved by the ZBA. Council Memo 171-22, ordinances approving the annexation of 20.5 acres on the west side of Vetter Road and classification to I-1 zoning approval. This ordinance approves the annexation and zoning pursuant to the agreement that was discussed in the public hearing. Council Memo 172-22, ordinances associated with Joliet Logistics Park subdivision. Staff is recommending that this ordinance be tabled to the to the second meeting in April, which is April 16th, Kristen?
I believe so.
Or 19th, April 19th. Council Memo 173-22, ordinance repealing Resolution 7608, annexation and development agreement with Eastgate Logistics Park, Chicago LLC. This ordinance repeals the old agreement for Compass Business Park. Council Memo 174-22, ordinance approving a master agreement and WIFIA project loan agreements with the United States Environmental Protection Agency. This ordinance approves loan agreements with the EPA for WIFIA Water Infrastructure Finance and Innovation Act loans in order to finance future water transmission infrastructure. Mr. Gadati will be here tomorrow to elaborate on those. Under resolutions, Council Memo 176-22, resolution accepting the dedication of right-of-way from Cadence Premier Logistics and Ryan Company for the Illinois Route 53 and Emerald Drive intersection improvement project. This dedication is part of the Route 53 and Emerald improvements. Two landowners are granting land to the city in order to be dedicated as a right-of-way for this project. Council Memo 177-22, resolution in support of the Wyland Mayor's Challenge for Water Conservation. This resolution is an indication of the city's support of the annual Wyland National Mayor's Challenge for Water Conservation. This challenge encourages residents to use water more efficiently, reduce pollution, and save energy. This will become part of our public outreach efforts for the Alternative Water Source Program. Council Memo 178-22, resolution approving an amendment to an economic incentive agreement with Darcy Motors. In 2020, the city entered into an economic incentive agreement with Darcy Motors. This amendment extends certain timelines established by the agreement. This is necessary due to delays in construction. Council Memo 17922, resolution authorizing a CDBG subrecipient agreement with the Joliet Area Historical Museum. Under a prior agreement, CDBG funds have been allocated for the creation of a public park at 1125 North Collins Street. The Joliet Area Historical Museum is to be dedicated as a subrecipient of these funds and shall oversee construction and use of this facility. Council Memo 180-22, resolution authorizing a CDBG subrecipient agreement with Greater Joliet Area YMCA. Under a prior agreement, CDBG funds have been authorized to be used by the Greater Joliet Area YMCA in order to provide programming and structural repairs to their facility. This resolution authorizes them to be a subrecipient of this grant. That concludes the agenda.
Next is public comments. Is there anyone that would like to speak under public comments this evening? Seeing none, there is no closed session this evening, so is there a motion to adjourn?
So moved.
It's been motion and seconded to adjourn. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Aye. Meeting adjourned.